We're continuing on in our formulas writing and naming practice. We're on page number 103. So this is page number 103. And let's get started. So let's get started with our practice. So this is going to be a little bit of more formulas and that are mixed. So obviously we're going to go from our name to our formula. So what we have to do is we need to go symbols, charges, crisscross. Where do we get our symbols? Periodic table, table S. Where do we get our charges? Also table E. And where do we get our charges? Periodic table and table E. All right, so let's get started. Ammonium. Scan table S. Don't see the word ammonium anywhere. Remember, the first element always keeps its name. So I'm going to go to table E, and I'm going to find the symbols for ammonium, which is NH4 on table E. So I need to get the charges. I'm going to put it in parentheses, polyatomic ions in parentheses. And now phosphate. This is also on table E, so I'm going to put that in parentheses, and that is our PO4. And the charge, -3, right from table E, right? So I have my symbols, I have my charges. Now I crisscross because that's multiplying by a common multiple, and that is going to balance our charge. So then I'm going to bring the 3 over here to the ammonium, and then just a 1 for the phosphate. Remember, in science and chemistry, we don't use the number 1. So when I recopy this, right, I have my NH4, 3, and then a PO4. And actually, you can have the PO4 not in parentheses if you would like, because if you only have one phosphate group, you don't need the parentheses. But you absolutely have to have the parentheses around that NH3. And then, of course, like my extraneous mark here. There we go. All right. All right, let's keep going. So now symbols. Symbol for iron is Fe. And the symbol for oxide is going to be our element oxygen, right? Because the ending "ide" is telling me I need to go to the periodic table and get a non-metal. Now I need to grab my charges. So this Roman numeral 2 tells me already the charge for iron, which is +2. Don't need to go to the periodic table if they give you a Roman numeral, because now they're being nice and telling me the charge is +2. Go to the periodic table to get oxygen's charge, -2. So since this is a +2, -2 combination, they already cancel each other out. The sum of the oxidation states is 0. So all I need to do is just do FeO. So that's iron Roman numeral 2 oxide. Now I have iron Roman numeral 3 oxide. So I still do my symbols. I have Fe and O. And now this is telling me the iron is +3. So I write +3 here. And then oxygen from the periodic table is -2. So now I crisscross, and I'm going to bring the 3 down and the 2. And again, you don't bring the negative positive down, you just bring the number down. And so I recopy as Fe2O3. And so remember, the Roman numeral 3 here is never going to be the subscript with the metal. It actually ends up to be the subscript on the other side. So let's go on to our next one. Carbon, C. Oxide, O. Charges. This is telling me the carbon's +2, +2. This periodic table tells me oxygen is -2. So then when I name this, CO. Since this is a non-metal, I can also use the Greek naming system, and this is carbon monoxide. But both are completely legitimate names, carbon monoxide and carbon Roman numeral 2 oxide. Both are legitimate names for this chemical formula CO. So now calcium, symbol Ca. Chloride, ide is telling me this is a non-metal from the periodic table, Cl. So no Roman numeral to tell me what the charge is. I go over to my periodic table, and calcium only has one possible charge. Calcium can only be +2. That's it, nothing else. Only loses 2 electrons. And our chlorine has to be the negative, and so it's going to be a -1 according to the periodic table. Now crisscross, Ca, Cl2, right? Because I'm going to bring this down here. So -2 balances out the +2. So now my symbols, potassium nitrate, symbols K for potassium, because remember you're checking table S. Nitrate, so then this means I'm going to go to table E, because it's not ending in "ide," so it's not a non-metal. So then I go to table E, and nitrate is NO3, and I copy that down. Charges from the periodic table, potassium is a +1, and the nitrate is a -1. So then I only need one of each. So KNO3. Magnesium is Mg. Okay, careful using table S. Manganese is Mn, magnesium is Mg. Now this says hydroxide. It does end in "ide," but there's no element hydrox anything on the periodic table, but there is on table E the hydroxide. We have hydrogen and we have oxide and oxygen, sorry, but we don't have hydroxide on the periodic table. So then this is going to be the OH from table E. So from the periodic table, the charge of magnesium is +2. And from table E, the hydroxide is going to be a -1. And I put that in parentheses because when I crisscross, I need to put this on the outside of the parentheses. So I have MgOH subscript 2 because I have 2 hydroxide groups. I do not have just 2 hydrogens, right? That hydroxide's a group, so we put it in parentheses. So I have my Al for aluminum, and then sulfate, this is ending is telling me that I probably need to go to table E, and then this is SO4 on table E. Now I get my charges from the periodic table in table E, +3, and then -2 for the sulfate. So then now I need parentheses because I'm going to have to crisscross. And I'm going to take this 3, I'm going to bring it down here. I'm going to take this 2, and I'm going to bring it over here, right? Because I have a +6 now on this side, and I have a -6 on this side. So Al2, and then parentheses, SO4, 3. I know that looks like a 9, but it's a 4. All right, so we're getting there. I love it when they give me the Roman numeral because then it makes it easy. I don't have to look at the charge on the periodic table. So copper, Cu, +2. Sulfate, SO4 from table E. And sulfate is a -2. +2, -2, we're all good. CuSO4. You can leave the parentheses if you would like, but when there's only one of a polyatomic, you don't have to have the parentheses, but you're not wrong if you include it. Lead, Roman numeral 4 tells me the lead's +4. Chromate means I need to go find that on my reference tables. So then I am going to write my symbols, Pb, and as a +4 charge. And now my chromate, make sure you're finding just chromate and not dichromate. So CrO4, right? Because they're both on table E and there's a difference. So CrO4. Now I need the charge of the chromate, and that's a -2. So now we can crisscross. I'm going to bring this 4 down here. I'm going to bring this 2 down here. Remember, elements have to combine. So I'm going to put a little star next to this one because this one's a little tricky. Not only do we need to do the Roman numeral, but we have to reduce because we've got a common multiple here, right? 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So let's go Pb. And then CrO4, 2, right? Because I only need to have 2 of these -2 chromates to balance out the +4. All right, now let's go on. Phosphorus, so telling me that this is +5. So P for phosphorus and O for oxide. I have a +5, and from the periodic table, a -2. So when I crisscross, I'm going to bring the 5 down over here, and I'm going to bring the 2 down over here, right? Because by multiplying each by each other with the crisscross technique, right, it works with a common multiple of 10 here. So I have a +10 on the left side of this formula and a -10 on the right-hand side of the formula. So P2O5. Now potassium permanganate, K for potassium. And now I'm going to go to table E, and I'm going to find my permanganate, which is the MnO4. Now charges, and again, my tablet is pretty sensitive. And so it's a MnO4 and +1 from the periodic table. And then the permanganate is -1 from table E. So I only need 1 potassium and 1 permanganate. So that's just KMnO4. Sodium hydrogen carbonate. So then this is on table E, hydrogen carbonate. So then I'm going to do my symbol for sodium. And then now I'm going to find the word hydrogen carbonate, which is HCO3. Copy that down. Symbols, charges. Sodium is a +1. The hydrogen carbonate is a -1. So then when I put these two together, I only need 1 of each. So NaHCO3. And now let's go down here. Let me just scroll a bit. Oops. There we go. So now I have zinc. So Zn for zinc. And then I have nitrate, which means I need to go to table E, which is NO3. Now charges. Zinc, grabbing the charge from the periodic table, +2. And the nitrate from table E, -1. So now let's do our polyatomic in parentheses, because when I crisscross, I got to bring the 2 to the outside of the parentheses, because I need 2 nitrates, not 32 oxygens. And then I just need 1 of the zinc. So I have my Zn, and then NO3, and the subscript of 2. Last one, aluminum. So I'm just going to write it down here because I feel like I need more room here. And then sulfite. Okay, careful. Sulfate, sulfite, sulfide all only differ by 1 letter. So you have to be a very careful reader. Sulfate and sulfite are both on table E. So I need to get the sulfite, which is SO3 from table E. Put that in parentheses. Aluminum's charge from the periodic table is a +3, and the sulfite is a -2. So when you crisscross, I'm going to bring this 2 down here, so then I'm going to have a +6 times, right? So 3 times 2. And I'm going to bring the 3 across down here. And so I have 3 times -2, so I have a -6, +6. That looks good. And then rewrite it to make it look pretty, Al2, and then SO3, 3. Remember, you need the parentheses because we have 3 sulfites, not 33 oxygens. And that wraps up page number 103. And we're going to work on some more Roman numeral stuff in our next page on page number 104 in our next video.